So you just finished a tutorial and you're trying to figure out who you want to play. You look through the entire roster and you notice you got a fun, dynamic cast, but they seem a little too complicated for what you're trying to do right now. You just kind of want to learn the game and play a simple game style. Well, Captain Mendoza is the perfect pick for you. He's very basic. I mean, so basic in fact, he literally doesn't even have a passive. His kit is probably the easiest thing you'll ever see. With left click just being a machine gun, nothing to really explain there. You press the button, you shoot. Left shift, you hold down the sprint. And then you got your Q being the supply drop. You drop a bunker with 1200 HP and it'll have a free medkit inside. Your E being a flash grenade that lasts forever. And your right click lets you aim down sights. This character is just, you shoot at things. You click heads, you do a lot of damage. It's as simple as it gets. But unironically, he's just really fucking good. He's good in pretty much every mode you put him in, and he can do essentially everything except be a tank, even though he does feel like a tank at times. So let's get into that. So before we go and tell you how you want to play Captain Mendoza in the two modes, let's first look at his essence upgrades. Captain Mendoza actually has a pretty decent tree overall, but the default loadout definitely seems to be the best of it. So looking at his tree, you have level 1 by default being deflection barrel. Rifle shots are 25% faster with a 25% less damage fall off. This is really good, especially for hard to highs where you're going to be taking engagement from mid to long range and not short range. For alpha hunters, you can still take this as your shots do fire 25% faster, so higher DPS overall, and is honestly probably the best one to take just overall. The only other one I would kind of recommend here would be auto gun bunker, where your supply drop provides a turret, but only really for alpha hunters, as the damage isn't amazing, but it does help you out with those really long skirmishes where you're kiting around a small area with you and your partner. So it helps there, but for hard to hides, it really doesn't provide a whole lot because you'll be taking fights from a longer distance. The other trait you could take here is the mini flash grenades, where it replaces your big flash with 3 mini flashes and increases the cooldown by 4 seconds. I couldn't really find a lot of information on this, on how long the mini flashes lasted in comparison to the big flash, but the default flash seems to just last an insanely long time, and there's really no reason to take this over deflection barrel in my opinion. So level 2, you got the shield. When you hit level 2, you just automatically now have a shield when you're out of combat. It provides a 200 health shield and it's just good. There's really not much to say about it. Free shield, free stats. I don't know why it's even here. This honestly could have been anything else. I don't know why they're making him tankier for no reason. He already does everything else really good. And then for level 3, you have Mark 20 accurate scope. You aim down sights faster and they're more accurate. This is probably the best one because it ties in with your other ones really well later on to the game. But you also have Headlong Rush, which I think is complete garbage. Knockback and damage opponents when sprinting. Sprint speed increases from 8.5 to 9 meters a second. It's good if you have to rotate a lot, but if you can really account for that, and that just kind of means your team isn't really playing properly and you're having to take everything by yourself, which it does happen in lower MMRs. So maybe this could help more there if you're not taking a lot of fights and you're kind of just grabbing as much essence as you possibly can. But I never really found a use for it. The last option you have here is the Stimu health packs, where medkits apply in-combat shield regeneration for over 10 seconds. I actually did like this one, especially for Alpha Hunter. So sometimes you end up buying a lot of time for yourself and you get to get a full heal off when you get to Kai, or maybe use a supply bunker to create some distance between you and your opponent, or your partner is able to grab, whatever the case may be. This actually did tend to help. And again, you don't really take fights from a super long distance in Alpha Hunter, so I kind of actually like this over the accurate scope there. But for hard to hives, you definitely want to go for this, as it's going to help you later on throughout the match. So, and then of course, we have level 4. Don't have any choice here. You have the Magna Clip Loader. Rifle magazine increases from 24 to 30 shots, reloads 25% faster. It's just good. This is also the reason why you want to take deflection shot level 1, because, you know, more bullets, more DPS. And then of course, level 5, it synergizes even more. You have Hyperburst Chamber. After reloading, the first 6 pulse rifle shots inflict 32% more damage. Again, it all just ties together, you know? You get more damage from deflection, you get to aim down sights faster and more accurate, you get to click heads more, and then the first 6 shots are going to burst. The other option you have here are the flaming grenades. It's just like a bad summer at this point. You really don't want this. I tried it out a few times and it really never felt like it was anything great. I kind of just always wanted to have the extra damage instead of the fire. I can't really see a use for it. Maybe you could get it to work Alpha Hunters with the mini grenades as well. But if you're kind of doing that, you might as well just pick summer at that point. In my opinion, those are kind of lackluster. So if you're going to play him in Heart of the Hives, I would just keep the default build as is. I wouldn't really touch anything here. I think everything works perfectly well. You could also keep this for Alpha Hunters as well. But for Alpha Hunters, like I said, I do like the supply drop bunker, or the auto gun bunker, I apologize. And then I do like the Stimu health packs over the accuracy. And it's really only just because you'd never take fights from a long distance in that mode. From what I've noticed, those seem to be a little more optimal. Normally characters have like a specific power spike that they're looking for like early, mid, or late game, level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Captain Mendoza is actually just strong from the very get-go, unlike say like Summer, who needs to wait for like level 2 for her to really be online. Captain Mendoza is just really, really strong from the get-go. His level 2 is probably what I would probably consider his strongest power spike, because he does become a lot tankier and does let you go in and out of fights more. But aside from that, you can fight with him right off the bat. But that's with this hard to have. We're not really fighting right off the bat. What we're trying to do is grab objectives. We're trying to grab harvesters, and we're trying to gain control and get them as much assets as possible. So when the game starts off, depending on where you land, you're going to try and want to fight your camps. You're not really trying to pick a lot of fights at this stage of the game. You're trying to find trampler or stompers or spitters around the map and grab as many harvesters as you can. But since you do have sprint and ongoing mobility move, you can look to rotate with your team to try and pick those small fights around like central. That's usually where you find a lot of these early engagements. But if not, especially if you're playing like a lower Mars, I generally just like to run around and grab every single objective on the map. Grab all the harvesters. I generally just give up the first heart to try and get a lead, especially if there's a bigger objective on the map. And Mendoza is just so good at rotating and grabbing those and even picking those fights if need be. You definitely don't want to be caught out of position as Mendoza, because you really don't have any escape tools. The best you got is your flashbang and just running away and praying that they can't catch you. So later on into the game, mid and late game, you're going to want to stick with your team for the most part if you're not grabbing a crucial objective, because if you do get caught, you will more likely die. Alpha Hunter is interesting to play as Captain Mendoza, because I don't think he's a particularly strong pick here, unlike with Heart of the Hives, where I think he's essentially S tier because he could do everything by himself. In Alpha Hunter, you're kind of always running into people and you get third party. Your mobility isn't amazing, even though you do have the ongoing sprint. You will be caught quite easily by things like Tosca or like by Summer. So here you kind of really want to be aware and use your detect as often as possible. Try to play around with your teammates more. You're kind of going to be more of a supporty DPS, which is kind of Mendoza's role anyways. You're never really going to kill a lot of people by yourself unless it's a very long fight. You do need to try and sit back and try to like chunk them over time. Be very weary of trying to go in for an all-in engage, because you will die very, very easily, especially against like the beefier part of the cast. Tosca will one-shot you, Drakal will one-shot you, and Cezanne will one-shot you. Like you do really need to be wary about the fights you do pick and what ranges you are in. Always remember to kite back. You will die if you get caught out. So you kite back, use your bunker to try to create a distance, use the flashbang to create those distances, use the plants in your environment to try and break line of sight or create a line of sight for yourself. These are things you do really need to remember, especially for this mode, because a danger is essentially around every corner. For Hard to Hives, you probably don't need to worry as much here. At most, you'll probably usually run into 1 or 2 people early on, and you could generally get away since the time of kill is so high. Unless you run directly to them or you get caught out extremely out of position, you could generally just meet up with your team and be safe. Overall though, Captain Mendoza is a very, very safe pick in both modes. And he's a very fun character. Actually, I always loved my run and gun soldier style characters. They're very easy to play, very easy to pick up, and they're generally okay. But Captain Mendoza seems to be really good, especially the early stages of Crucible's metagame right now, where people are still trying to figure out what to do, what to prioritize, and how to like optimize killing. Captain Mendoza just kind of has a little bit of everything, and he's definitely a good character to just pick up and learn the game, especially during these early stages of the game. He provides everything a team needs: good mobility, good harvester control, good damage, and good self-sustain. He really does have it all at the moment. So if you do want to learn the game and pick up a very easy champion, I highly do recommend picking up Captain Mendoza. He's a very easy character to learn to play as, and he does help you learn the game better. In my opinion, you don't have to worry too much about micromanaging your abilities. He's a very simple character, and he kind of does a little bit of everything at the moment. So highly recommend him. I don't know for the future if I'm going to go into like the Heart of the Hives Alpha Hunter section for these guys. I feel like it's going to be very similar, especially for like 99% of the cast. Everyone's kind of doing the same thing. No character really has their own solo objective, what they're trying to do. Very few do. Like Tosca plays a little bit different. You want to roam, try to get those kills and get those engagements as your team gets the objectives. But at the moment, it just feels like everyone's kind of trying to do the same thing. So let me know down below if you want me for the next guy to go into those again. But if not, I'll just go more in depth about like the characters, their abilities, what they're supposed to do, because I really do feel like for the most part in Hard to Hives and Alpha Hunters, everyone's trying to play essentially the same. And I do feel like explaining it here was a bit of a waste. So you let me know down below if you do want to see more of that and how you want to try and play the characters in the 2 modes. But if not, we'll just go more into the assets, upgrades, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's all for today's video. If you do like it, please leave a like down below. Please subscribe. I do plan on making more Crucible videos and more Crucible guides. So let me know who you would like to see down below. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you all next time.